Simone and Kyrra enter the classroom. Simone is in a great mood. She's feeling happy, excited, and positive about taking the exam. Kyrra, however, is in a bad mood. She's depressed, emotionally withdrawn, and is not feeling positive about taking the exam. Let's see what happens next. The next day.
What's wrong? I didn't do good on the test. Really? I got 100. So I don't know what happened. I mean, the other day, my mom called me and told me that my grandma had just got admitted to the hospital and that she's sick. And so I guess when I took the test, I don't know, I just wasn't in a great mood.
Well, you know, your mood could have a lot to do with it, now that you mention that. Storbeck and Macewood did a study entitled Happiness Increases Verbal and Spatial Working Memory Capacity, where sadness does not, emotion working memory and executive control, where they use mood manipulation to assess the performance on complex span tasks, depending on whether you had a positive mood or negative mood. And they found that in all conditions, the positive condition did better.
So it was my mood that made me fail in this test.
Could have been.
Now that we've shown you an example of working memory, I think it's time to explain to you what working memory actually is.
Short-term memory is a temporary storage system.
Wait a second. I thought we were talking about working memory. What's short-term memory?
Well, working memory and short-term memory go hand in hand. They're basically the same thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but they're temporary storage systems that allow for processing and manipulation of information through controlled attention.
So, how much information can you hold in your working memory?
Well, we learned in Dr. Shelton's class that the capacity of your short-term memory is 7 plus or minus 2 items.
Oh, that's interesting. So, what exactly does that mean, 7 plus or minus 2?
Well, that's where long-term memory comes in. A good way to get that information from your short-term memory, since it is such a limited capacity, into your long-term memory is to use memory rehearsal techniques.
Oh, so is that kind of like the phonological loop, part of Batley and Hitch model?
Oh, yeah, okay.
Okay, so the phonological loop allows you to store and process information in your working memory. But there's also the episodic buffer, the visual spatial sketchpad, and the central executive.
What comes next?
The episodic buffer allows you to bind verbal and visual information. The visual spatial sketchpad allows you to hold visual and spatial information. And the central executive ties in all of this information. It is the control center.
Oh, okay. So this is all one big model.
Yes.
So it's not a simple storage system like everybody thinks.
No, of course not.
Oh.
An example of the central executive was a study done by Helen St. Clair Thompson. The title of the study is called Executive Functions and Working Memory Behaviors in Children with a Poor Working Memory. In this study, children with poor working memory were tested on executive functions such as inhibition, planning, attention, and shifting in order to determine whether or not they display a generalized executive impairment.
That's cool. So what did they find?
This study found that children with poor working memory struggle with paying attention and planning for future tasks. What this entails is that a relatively good working memory is needed in order to pay attention and plan for future tasks.
So that goes back to the central executive, right? Because
Exactly.
that's in the frontal lobe, and the frontal lobe has a lot to do with executive control. So it seems to me that short-term memory would relate to executive control, because you'd have to have good executive control in order to maintain that information and prevent interference.
Exactly.
What are some important takeaways from this video? What did you learn?
Well, we learned that whether you have a positive or a negative emotion could affect how you process information with your short-term memory.
And we also learned that working memory is needed to complete executive functions such as inhibition, planning, shifting, and attention.
I'd say we learned a lot today.
I think so too.
I don't know how.
All right. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for tuning in.
Bye.